Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing better and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Valorant News and welcome to 2023. FNS has given his thoughts on the Sentinels team from the 2022 season, suggesting that it's not like the players fell off individually and TenZ can still be a dominant force. It's more that the teamwork fell apart, and that is what they're trying to address with this new roster going forwards. But the same thing probably also applies to ShahZaM and their potential on the G2 team. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into. Firstly, just a quick look back on 2022. The top teams of the year, OpTic of course, but they didn't win the World Championship. That was loud. FPX there as well, and of course DRX definitely worthy of mention here from Korea. And we'll also see in a second FNS's point on Ardiis and how he might fit into their roster going forwards on the NRG side, how he compares to Ye in terms of playstyle, and where there might be some differences there between the way they behave. Now, quick note as well on the things that arrived in 2022 to Valorant. Of course, we had 3 new agents. We had Neon, we had Fade, we had Harbor, and also Pearl as a map. So next year, we're also going to get a new map, we believe. What that means for the map pool, I don't really know. We believe that Split is going to return with some changes, and Bind and Breeze are going to go. Maybe the idea is get rid of Bind, get rid of Breeze, bring Split back in, and then bring in the new map, the Temple map, as we looked at yesterday, which is going to round out the selection. Maybe, maybe not, but we shall see. So, yeah, 3 new agents this year, maybe another 3 new agents next year. And of course, Fade was used quite an awful lot, actually, after she was introduced. Neon was there on occasion. OpTic used her to quite good effect. Victor, for example. Harbor, as yet, has really done nothing, but we'll see here in a second from Chet, the NRG coach, that maybe there is a world in which Harbor can actually be viable going forwards. Couple of roster updates as well. The ex-SAW team is now known as NSIC. That's, these guys, Jake Odorous, Empathy, and co. That's their roster. Also, thanks to those of you who pointed out to me what's going on with FaZe. I kind of thought I remembered this, but I wasn't sure in yesterday's video who the FaZe 5th is going to be, but we believe it's going to be, of course, Poised, babybay, Superman, Dicey, and Effie's is meant to be the 5th man on the lineup. There's been some leaks about this from a couple of different sources now, so thanks for letting me know about that one. But yeah, the teams will be confirming over the coming days, and I was kind of wondering yesterday, with the rumours as to which organisations are actually going to get the automatic invite for challenges, will they announce them yet, or will they announce them when their rosters are confirmed? Just because, as the guards say, the guard Valorant loading 90%, because, they haven't confirmed their team yet, right? We know what their team's going to be. It's going to be basically the previous team, but no Sire player, of course, and he's gone to T1, right? And then Tex is coming in instead, formerly of NRG, but apart from that, basically the same deal going forwards. So look, they're going to confirm what's happening, and probably once they do, and once FaZe do, and once, of course, G2 are confirmed, and M80 are confirmed and stuff, but once these teams confirm their rosters, then I guess that's when Riot are going to say, hey, these guys got the automatic invite, and that's probably going to happen, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, in the coming days, nonetheless. And even Net says here, wait, didn't know you guys were going into Valorant again, so confirming that, yeah, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Now let's talk about the Sentinels situation then, because their story over the last year has been really strange, to be honest. It's been up and down. The 2021 season was, some massive highs. 22 was, some serious lows for them as an organisation. Of course, making some roster changes, the Kanpeki thing that happened, which was very strange indeed, and all the drama that happened there between Zoms and ShahZaM, and the IGLing styles, and kind of TenZ finding himself in a role where he just had to drop 40 kills if they wanted to win a map, and the teamwork obviously fell off massively. Going forwards, I think they're taking things a lot more seriously, and that's why I think that, and as FNS says here in a second, they're going to have a better chance going forwards, just because before, Sentinels, look, they tried to get a coach in Kaplan, it didn't happen for them, because I think there was a buyout involved. They obviously got Raucus in, but that never really worked out, and Raucus wasn't exactly a tenured coach in any sort of esports. Probably did a solid job, but not maybe a spectacular job for the team, and you can understand that maybe he's, learning a role like that, and I think he's going back to playing now, Raucus, so obviously that was never really a long-term plan. So Sentinels, I think in 21 were a very solid team. In 22, I think honestly, it was more of a content-driven operation, and we saw Rob Moore, the CEO, saying, look, we've done it before, we've been the best team, we've now done it where we've been the biggest branded team, got the content, bringing in Tarek, bringing in Shroud, all that kind of crazy storylines they had, of course, for the LCQ. It's funny, I mentioned that Kanpeki thing, and not even the Shroud thing, but now they've got to put the both together and kind of combine the legendary content game they've got now, clearly, and the clout, try let's say, the Sentinels have, with also getting the results again. So I think this team is going to achieve that, but to me, it's more about, the teamwork, the chemistry, but also the new coaching staff they've brought into effect. Of course, they've got Psycho now as well, who was announced to engage yesterday, so congratulations to Psycho and his fiancée. But yeah, he, of course, tenured coach with the exec guys. He's going to be, I think, one of the key features here. And I think I remember an interview where Psycho talked about the fact that he'd had a conversation with TenZ. Psycho was brought into Sentinels, and he was basically given the keys. keys and said, hey, what roster do you want to build? Let's make it happen. And he sat down with the players, sat down with TenZ, and was trying to investigate, is TenZ actually a fit for this team? Because there were some talks about TenZ potentially going, then bringing in alternatives, and Hiko had the conversation and basically was trying to work out, has TenZ lost his fire? Has he lost his motivation? What was the cause of TenZ individually and also the team struggling in the 2022 season, and how can they potentially fix that going forwards? Hiko obviously saw in TenZ that he's still got what it takes, still got the ability, still got the drive to succeed, and that's kind of what FNS is going to describe here in a second, because I think as sports fans in general, it's very difficult to tell what's going on internally. You see that Sentinels fell off, and you see, oh, okay, yeah, TenZ is bad now, you know, ShahZaM's a terrible IGL, all this type of stuff, whereas the reality is that if things break down internally, the comms are bad, there's a bit of internal team friction, that kind of, you know, goes on to the players themselves. So as FNS describes, the players aren't necessarily bad, it's the chemistry that's bad.
I think Sentinels overall had a bad year. I think it's very easy, it's hard to argue otherwise. But here's the other thing that you guys don't understand. You guys call teams and then you start calling the players. But a lot of the times the players are still good, but the team went to the overall teamwork went to the comms went to, but you guys don't see that. So because you don't see it, all you see is what you see with your eyeballs. You start to think, oh, I'm right because I just see with my eyes that this guy's not getting like this guy's not getting 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 kills anymore like he used to, therefore he's bad. But you guys aren't looking at the bigger picture, which is maybe he wasn't set up to get the kill. Maybe the players that are setting him up got unlucky or whatever, this, that, and the other. Maybe there's problems going on the team. You know what I mean? There's a lot of factors that you guys don't factor in because you don't know. And it's understandable that you don't know because you're not on the team. And that's why for us players, it can be frustrating sometimes when you guys make assumptions, but it's just, that's how it is. That's how sports is. Like, you're a fan of a team and the team loses, and you're a fan of a player and the player doesn't perform to your standards, you're going to get mad. I think TenZ is a good player, but I think he had a bad year. I think Ye is way more methodical and like slower, and I think Ardiis is quicker than him. Like, runs up and just takes fights, which makes him really unexpected. And Jake is just way more passive. That's the only real difference, honestly. But in terms of mechanics, I think there's not really anyone out there that can actually like come be on par with Jake, really. Maybe like 2 or 3 other players out there. I think Jake's positioning individually is just too, and his like standstill aim is just too nice. There's like very few players that can like beat him at that. But the thing is, there's so many players like Cryo, Ye, Ardiis, in my opinion, like they're so close to each other in terms of mechanics. Anyone can just have if any of them have a good day, they'll shit on the other guy. You know?
So I thought that was a nice way to say it really there from FNS, and also we see this really in obviously many different sports as well, as he describes, but also it's a common thing that the pros get frustrated at the fans for not really understanding what's happening, but you know, nonetheless, a team that was once good and then falls off massively, you know, the players haven't forgotten how to play. This is the thing that happens in many different sports. It's relatively rare that a player will go from one season to the next and be dominant and then be absolutely terrible. It's either a gradual decline or the other way around. You know, okay, a player like Bang has gone from being kind of, you know, a solid player to being an absolute superstar, stud type player, and of course it can happen that way, and it can happen where players go from being incredibly good to being terrible. But when a player's relatively young, I mean, TenZ is super like early 20s. Like this guy, it's not like he's got to, you know, 30 years old and he's gone from being capable to now he just can't shoot straight anymore. Like obviously that's not the case. When you're in your early 20s, it's highly unlikely that a player individually is going to fall off massively, and it's quite clear for anyone that watches TenZ that's not been the case. It's more about his team dynamic, and in fairness, he was still looking quite good at times, but he was often kind of being the one man relied on to perform, and that obviously maybe the pressure wasn't obviously ideal for TenZ as well. That's been a discussion there in the past also. But I think this story does also apply to other players as well, because of course, if you look at that Sentinels team previously and the struggles that they had, you can look at ShahZaM and all the drama that was there between ShahZaM and Zoms, and now he's gone to G2, and it's a pretty different story now on G2. He's got obviously an actual coaching staff over there, Immy, we believe, formerly of the version 1 team, got a full roster intent on winning, and you you know, maybe ShahZaM's iGel style that's caused some criticism over the last couple of years can now turn on its head a little bit, and we can see more from ShahZaM, because I think individually ShahZaM hasn't necessarily fallen off. His iGelling abilities that were obviously, well, having some good success in 2021 haven't necessarily collapsed, let's just say, but nonetheless, I'm sure there is still some work to do. So enjoy your thoughts on that in the comment section below. The other comment there I thought was interesting, actually, from, well, upon Yay, and I thought that was a pretty crazy shot, actually, as well on SR Marder there. But yeah, Yay versus Ardiis, right? Because obviously, as FNS says there, in terms of pure ability, they're not actually dissimilar in terms of raw aim and stuff. Now, like, Yay in a 1 versus 1 fight with an operator or even a marshal is not going to be, like, no one's going to beat him in a 1 versus 1 fight when you're both set up and ready to go. But look, Ardiis is a bit more aggressive and also can maybe rifle in a slightly more aggressive and impressive way than Yay can at times. So probably rather similar players. From a personality perspective, it should work with NRG as well, and we'll see how well it works with these new agents, right? Because of course Yay is going to be on the Jet now, and more than likely not really on the Chamber any longer because it's not so viable nowadays, and we'll see how well that works with Creo, with Yay, and with Ardiis now that the Chamber is basically gone from the meta. Quick note, as I promised you guys, on Harbor here, because Chet says, now we saw yesterday Chet was mentioning the fact that he's going to bring in some, let's just say, cringe compositions to the NRG lineup, and as George Gedder says, Harbor might actually be better than Viper in a lot of situations. So Harbor's been tried, most pros think that he's not viable, but usually there's something about an agent skip that makes him okay, and there might be a buff that comes soon anyway. But Chet reckons amazing character. Now whether that's amazingly bad or whether that's amazingly viable, right? So yeah, don't expect not to see Harbor in some of NRG's compositions going into the new year. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.